No one? Latasha?
Yes. CS sessions, LS sessions, CMA sessions, DCA sessions.
Very good. Well, we
No.
missed one chunk of sessions. You're almost perfect.
The SD sessions.
The SD sessions. Very good, very good. Oops, I pressed the wrong thing. Okay, sorry. Little technical glitch there. Okay, so CS sessions are the most quantity. CSs will actually present 24 different core sessions, and that's just the core sessions. That's not differentiated. 24 core sessions, plus there's 6 DCA sessions. So we lump all of that together because they're all presented by the same person. Then we have our CMA sessions. I believe this year our CMAs will present 9 different sessions. I think it's 6 of those coming in week 1. So CMAs, 9 different sessions. Then we have our LS sessions, and LSs present 6 different core sessions, in addition to some differentiated sessions. And then last but definitely not least, we have our SDs who present 2 sessions. I want to make a note that these are not in order of importance by any means. SD sessions that you present on the very first day of Institute are very critical to ensuring that we set up our summer for success. But this is the order of kind of the bulk of where the sessions come from. So now that we've talked about where our staff members actually present content, I want to ground us in something that I think we all know, which is that the only way for us to measure success is if core members meet outcomes. Just like in our own classrooms, the only way we measure our success is if students achieve. It's the same thing for our core members. I know a lot of you have probably heard this saying, teachers aren't teaching unless students are learning. Same thing for us. If staff members aren't presenting well, unless CMs are meeting outcomes. I hold the same kind of even standard for myself. You know, if you all aren't meeting outcomes and there's something I did in my preparation or my presentation that's not allowing that to happen. And you'll hold the same, you know, whether you're managing the structure, so whether you're managing your CS to these outcomes or you're doing it yourself, you'll hold the same standard for yourself as well. So we have the structures, we know that it has to be rooted in CM outcomes. So the next thing for us to do is actually figure out, well, how do I actually internalize what CMs are supposed to do at every session for every day of Institute, which is a lot of sessions. So we're going to actually get some practice doing that. So as a school director or a CMAC or a curriculum coordinator, you, in order to know what CM outcomes are, you need to know the session. When I say know, I'm going to put know in quotation marks, because the way you need to know a session is going to be different than the way a CMA needs to know their session or the way a CS needs to know their session. They need to know what you know and a lot more, because they need to know every single detail. All you need to know is, at this point in the session, what should I know, what should I see CMs doing or hear them saying or see them believing that's going to let me know that they're meeting outcomes. At this point in the session, what should I see them doing or hear them saying? And at the end of the session, what should I see them doing or hear them saying? And even more importantly, when they walk into their classrooms the next day, what should I see them doing and hear them saying that's affecting the way their students are achieving in the positive? So that's what you're going to concentrate on, and you're going to need to read the session to get that information, but again, it's going to be different than reading for every single detail and every single kind of key point and learning experience. It's really based on what should I see my core members actually being able to do and say. So to do that, we've come up with 3 fancy little steps here that you can take. And I also want to make the point that because there are so many sessions, we're talking 30 plus 9 plus 6, I can't add that fast in my head, but a lot of sessions. Because there's so many sessions, you're not going to be able to spend hours figuring out what those CM outcomes are. You're actually going to spend approximately 20 minutes per session. So we're going to practice really authentic practice of that today with about 18 minutes. And I want you to note 2 things. One, if you're feeling like after today, wow, it was really hard to get through this session in 18 minutes, it is hard. So that's okay for you to think that it's hard, but that you do need to kind of practice so that you can get faster at it. Because once you get to Institute, you just won't have time to spend hours reading sessions. but it's critical that you actually do read sessions because otherwise you won't actually be able to support your staff members in meeting core member outcomes. So the first thing you're going to do is read the FS. Everyone in your pre-work, you had exec 5, responding to minor misbehavior. You can either take that out of your pre-work, or there are additional copies of it in the middle of your table. Either one of those things is fine. You can take the one from your pre-work, or get the one in the middle of the table. Oh, in your stuff? There was one in your stuff? There you go. If it was in your packet, that's fine. Exec 5, responding to minor misbehavior. So we're going to use this as our model, and I'm going to quickly walk you through the steps before you get into your practice. So the first thing you're going to do is read the FS with a focus on what CNs are going to be able to do. There's two parts to this. The first is a quick preview, and this literally quick preview, when I say a quick preview, I literally mean 1 to 2 minutes of reading the very first page. And the first page of this FS, which stands for Faculty Supplement, in case people aren't familiar with that word. The first things you're going to look at are the objectives. What are core members going to be able to do? The rubric action and goals that are related. So for responding to minor misbehavior, we're talking about the rubric action that's related to that is communicating high expectations for behavior. You're going to look at the mindsets that core members will walk away or should walk away from the session with, the key ideas, and the session agenda. Again, 1 to 2 minutes on this first page or so. Then you're going to do a longer consideration of the assessment, the learning activities, and the implementation. And to do that, you're actually going to have to go into the session and find these things. The assessment obviously usually comes at the end of the session. And the way I actually like to do this when I read these FSs myself is to start from the end and look at the assessment and think about, okay, how does this assessment actually relate to the objective that I just read? And then once I have really internalized that, then I move to saying, okay, now let me look at the actual learning activities and see how they lead to this objective. And then last, the implementation, which is so key, both to being able to see what are core members doing in classrooms, but even more importantly than that, what does it mean for students in their classrooms? So you'll do a longer consideration here. I would say this section should take you anywhere from 10 to 12 minutes to do this longer consideration. The next thing you're going to do is review the rubric actions. Yeah, question?
Back when on the first sheet where it says previewing the FS, it talks about number 3 mindsets. And it says key ideas. Is that knowledge and skills?
Yeah, so when we talk about the things that core members need, we talk about knowledge, skills, and mindsets. And so usually the mindsets, we kind of separate them out, and knowledge and skills come under kind of the key ideas portion. Yep. That's a great question.
Thanks.
So the next thing you're going to do is actually review the rubric actions. And what I like to do when I do this is I actually like to go on to Talon, because I can read communicate high expectations for behavior, and even though I've worked with a rubric for a long time, I still have to jog my memory to remember what are actually all the pieces that go into communicating high expectations for behavior. So one that comes to mind for me right now is the summative effects of what a teacher does. So part of communicating high expectations is when I do all these things, does misbehavior cease in the short term or cease in the long term? So what I would do is I would actually go to Talon. I would look up E4, which is communicating high expectations for behavior. I would read all the different pieces that go along with it. If I had questions, I might even actually watch a video and say, what does this actually look like at the beginning proficiency level? So I might even watch a video to kind of jog my memory. And I would spend probably 4 to 5 minutes on Talon making sure that I have this information. So that I have a clear vision again for what core members should be doing, saying, both in the session and once they get into their classrooms. I want to take a pause here just to